Well, it's a pleasure and thank you for joining us once again in this next episode. I was told by one of my parents that if you want to become wise, you work with the wise people. If you want to become a lawyer, you don't move with any other people, but you move with the lawyer. So if you want to be successful in business, definitely you have to align yourself with very successful business people that have stood a test of time. This time round, we'll be making a 360-degree with someone who has been in business for so many years. He's a Ugandan who is born of Arua. He's been in Kampala. He's been in Uganda for some good year. He's been in politics for some time, but most importantly, he's a very successful entrepreneur who employs many Ugandans, and that is none other than Mr. Mukesh Shukla, the managing director of Mukesh Group and Company. He'll be giving us his perspective on how he looks at things, particularly from the business or the economic part of it. Mr. Mukesh Shukla, thank you for joining us.
Yes, good afternoon, Mr. Paul. How are you today? First of all, I will have to congratulate on our 35th Independence Day to all the viewers and you to take off this time. Thank you very much. And I think I'm Mukesh Shukla, Chairman CEO of Shumuk Group of Companies. And mine is the third generation in Uganda doing business and manufacturing. So you should not be surprised of my success, because there is a deep-rooted, what you can say, input since more than 5, 6, 7 decades.
Okay. Is that all about you?
I think the rest is known, but I can tell you that we have about 8 operations, businesses in bonded warehouse, forex bureaus. But our main flagship is manufacturing aluminium utensils, which is in every household of Ugandans.
Including my own place.
Yes, you may not be, but you can talk to your wife or the girlfriend. She will tell you that she is using our product since more than a decade. So most of our Ugandan customers have helped us to survive and sustain the industry for such a long time.
Liberation Day, 35 years of His Excellency Yoweri Kaguta Museveni. From 1986 up to date, he's made 35 years. What's your take on the 35 years of His Excellency Yoweri Kaguta Museveni as the President of the Republic of Uganda?
I definitely have to congratulate His Excellency the President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni for not only leading us for 35 years, but also to give us one more term, which is next 5 years now, for stability and securing the future of Ugandans and also of business. And definitely I know that his struggle is not for 35 years, it is much more than that. It's about 40 years since I came to know. So if you remove my age, I was around 18 to 20 when I first came to realize that people are existing like him. So I still have to congratulate of the brilliant leadership which we survived with for last 35, 40 years, and that is the result why you can see peace and prosperity in Uganda. So I think now Uganda is a free country, you can do any business, and you can enter politics also if you want, like I tried.
Okay, you did actually try.
Yes.
I've had a discussion with many people about 35 years of His Excellency Yoweri Kaguta Museveni. Some people have said they've been years of torment, years of trauma. I don't know, what is your take?
Would you mind if I just, I think the social distancing is okay.
Okay, thank you.
So that I can relax bit extra. Sorry.
35 years. Some say they've been years of torment. Others say they've been years of great and great achievements. What is your take? Maybe we can begin from the fundamental achievements His Excellency has done.
You see, let's call a spade, and we have to appreciate human attributes which are positive in nature and which all of us can see, even if you are the most pessimistic person in the world. and the most ardent opposition you are in, let's agree that we have to appreciate his leadership in terms of stability and achievement. And according to me, some of our youths who are born post M7 generation, which is after 90s or something, they may not have experienced the instabilities and all those which is possible in countries of ours which we had in the past. So they may assume that peace is for granted. So they may not appreciate it to the fullest extent. But I still feel that we have to, as Uganda, we have to be proud of the country, and all of us, including you and all other team which has led them for the last 35 years. So I don't.
Which other team are you talking about?
I'm talking of the entire, what you can say, resistance movement, national resistance movement, historicals and the armies, leadership at various LC levels. I thought this was a new structure for especially somebody like me who had experienced some structure between post-independence from 62 to 1986-87. So I'm born in 62, so I'm more or less an independent person, independence person.
You were born on the day Uganda got her independence.
No, I thought I was born in August, and the colonial powers got scared of me, so they left after 2 months. You can say like that. So I think we got the independence in October, and I was born in August.
Okay. So fundamentally, from the business perspective, 35 years, in terms of achievements, what have they meant to you? What have they meant to the business community?
As a business community, especially in Shumuk group of companies, we started with a humble beginning in 1987, 88, and we improved the investments in various phases up till today. And as a country, we are having above 6.5% GDP growth for the last 30 years. Of course, you have to minus this last year of COVID, where we may be 2% or 3%. And as Shumuk Group also, we kept on growing at 10% a year for the last 35 years. And basic contribution is because of the stability which we get as far as environments are concerned. And that helps you to plan and strategize the investments.
Security is key in business.
Yes.
How?
You can try and be in Juba today. You can try and be in Burundi today, and you will feel the difference. And DRC also, Southern Sudan also. So I feel that because most of the youngsters in Uganda, which are 65%, between the age of 15 and say 35, they have not experienced the insecurity part.
Have you heard of people who say, absence of war does not necessarily define that there is security? I don't know whether you've come across such statements.
No, I do agree that we have to graduate security and go into developmental objectives after 35 years to look into other areas of progress and development. Definitely. I'm not saying we should keep on singing the song of security for another 30 years or 40 years. But at the same time, I'm saying it cannot be taken as a thing which is for granted. We have to preserve and protect, as Ugandans, the safety and security of the nation, especially basic security in terms of working hours. I think those days we had working hours which was less than 4 hours or 5 hours a day. Now at least we have seen that you can work 24 hours. Today is a holiday.
What do you think is lacking for the last 45 years? What is it that you think should have been in place that is not in existence from the business side or from the holistic side?
I think basically we have to now focus on some ideological mindset changes in terms of progress and development from politics. You know, we have to graduate it in terms of tribalism, in terms of what you can say, group chauvinisms, and then try to work for progress and development for all of us. I think that's the basic weakness which we have.
Mindset. Uganda still grapples with one of the hardest problem is unemployment, despite the fact that the president has kept on moving across every corner of this country, setting up industries, industrial parks, mention it all. But unemployment still remains one of the major challenges in Uganda. And when you stood as an MP for Nakawa East, one of the critical areas you wanted to emphasize was to address the issue of unemployment. Where exactly is what causes this unemployment?
Basically, I started with the mindset which you are saying, because I personally feel that most of the unemployment which we are talking about is mindset problem, especially in Uganda where we have agriculture, fertile land, and people can easily go and till and do some crops. At the same time, I do feel that industrialization is the only solution for employment, because whether you talk Germany, whether you talk Japan, or whether you talk any industrial countries, they all have used industrialization as a modes of generating mass employment. So, and thirdly, I still feel that the education system in terms of upskilling has to be done in terms of curriculums, so that right skilling is done in terms of educating them to add value to the resources, rather than just getting this academic bureaucratic degrees.
You seem to be suggesting that the education system is not aligned towards addressing the problem. It is not addressing the problem of unemployment.
Yes. I also feel that there is a lack of vocational angle or orientation in terms of education based on Ugandan resources. Our education system is based on colonial past up till today, and some of those curriculums are not changed. So we are still going for those white collar graduates, which we have to change and make it more upskilling in terms of digital education, you can say, and seeing how we can utilize harness our manpower.
Okay, in your opening remarks, maybe let me call it in your preamble, you did say you run so many things, so many businesses. We have many Ugandans that have started up businesses and they've never come to be successful. So what makes you a unique entrepreneur that you have over 7, 8 different kinds of business and they are almost at their level of success?
God's grace, and
we also have the grace and the leadership is there.
And good luck also. You see, when you are successful, everything succeeds nothing succeeds like success, they say. So the basic strength of the group is in delegation, power of delegation.
Power of delegation.
Yes. So we believe that as Shumuk group of companies, to do networking with Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, Rwanda, and then we try to build up a group of leaders. You may see only my face, but I'm not alone, and we have so many directors who are helping us to decide the strategy. And basically, Uganda was a small market initially, even today, comparing East Africa, especially Kenya. So, due to the varieties of small market, we have to be in more than one business to survive. And once one business is not doing well, another can help us to.
I find that dangerous running many business, because you don't have time to concentrate and make sure you give time to this one business.
You see, once you have a niche business which is manufacturing, then you can support the side businesses, because they have networking within internal each other to support each other in terms of customers, in terms of networking, in terms of service providers. You build a synergy within the companies, and it helps each other to build what you can say formidable defense against competition, because we are all competing. Let's agree.
Well, much as it's a blessing to run many companies, but there are a few challenges you encounter on the way. What could be these?
I think you know there are two sayings that rolling stone never gathers any moss, and what you can say, unless you stabilize, you will not build anything or focus. So, in business and in life, you will get both sides of a side of a coin. So, whatever succeeds for you is important based on time, place, and circumstances. So, I do agree that it sacrifices some focus, and maybe we cannot specialize in so many businesses on a larger scale. But at the same time, I still feel that Shumuk group of companies is playing a catalyst role in so many businesses. They can, what you can say, they can incubate a business and then revive it.
Well, very interesting discussion. Business insights only. We are making sense of business matters with Mr. Mukesh, Shukla, Managing Director of Mukesh Group of Companies, Shumuk Group of Companies. I find it surprising that on public holidays, workers are seated at their home places and managers, bosses, CEOs are in offices working. What explains so? Does this mean we are lazy workers? We don't know what we want?
You see, our workers' output is not very desirable also in terms of output. We are bit in our comfort zones, and we don't take work as seriously as some of the best countries in the world like Japan or Singapore or somewhere. So, I do feel that we have a bit of a laid back scenario in Uganda. Maybe it is because of God's grace of resources and weather. I don't know why. But at the same time, bosses, we enjoy our work. It's not a, what you can say, a torture on us when we come here on a holiday and do some work, including this work which we are doing. So, it may inspire more entrepreneurs to come in. So, basically charity begins at home. So, we believe that if top management is not committed, then to get workers output is difficult.
Have you come across of statements of saying would rather employ Kenyans than employing Ugandans? Ugandans are perceived to be lazy workers. I don't know whether you've come across such.
We have come across that statement, but I personally believe that every human being can be trained into the best and the worst based on time, place, and circumstances. So, if we get what you can say, the right environment in terms of training our workers and making them understand that life is not a piece of cake. It has to have some struggles for success and hard work, which we have to put in. So, somehow or another, maybe because of our resources and past historical weather situations, we are not used to putting a serious input in our workplaces and professions, including business.
I don't know whether you may agree or you may not agree with me. Handling human resources is not very easy. That's my take. I don't know what your take is.
Listen, any business, any part of the world, if you don't succeed in managing more than 2 people, your business has to be a failure. So, I am saying that human resource is the 80% contribution in any company lasting more than 5 years in any part of the world. So, Uganda is not an exception. So, we do have to emphasize that if you fail to manage HR, you fail the companies.
And human resource is very
crucial. So, somehow or another, we should try and emphasize more on training and bit of loyalties. You see, the environment is changing now because of computers and digital and all. There was a time when you will work for one company for more than 20 years, or your father must have worked, my father must have worked for one company for 25, 30 years. But now the youth enjoys changing jobs.
Is that a disadvantage or an advantage? Jumping from from Mukesh group of companies to ABCD.
It is a major disadvantage in terms of companies because they invest heavily on training and they lose a good staff. Because first 2 years, from my experience in any company, including maybe smart TV also, the employee cannot generate much value. His generation starts after 2 years of consistent training and his exposure to the work areas, and he gets used to the corporate ethics, corporate what you can say work values and standards, and then he produces for 3 years for the company. For first 2 years the company is invested, and 3 years the company start generating some value and returns. Okay. So if a employee you cannot retain them for 5 years, definitely company has a big disadvantage.
Talk about lazy workers, because those do exist. You may disagree with me. Those also say exist in an organization. So how do we handle such lazy workers? They report late at work. They are full of complaints and concerns, always absent.
Anyway, we are giving them what you can say an incentive and disincentive to improve on their areas of work input. So we also use some what you can say job logs in terms of hours input, and we try to maintain some sort of discipline and decency in the organization. But obviously the challenges are so many. I agree with you that there is a challenge, but unfortunately the only way HR can be managed is through competition. So we are competition. So we try to give them competition, that if you fail to do this, somebody else will take over.
Let's now speak the language of investment. Investment in Uganda. You're one of the greatest investors that we have in the country. And what explains so?
You see, as far as I am concerned, I enjoy my country's residentship and the weather and the people. So personally I'm passionate about Uganda. But as far as investment is concerned, I always say that if you are passionate about your project, say smart TV, then you will take extra troubles and you will not get hopelessness.
Where do we derive the passion for Uganda? And yet some of our fellow Ugandans probably want to fly out of the country, go and do something else.
The good thing with me is my family always allowed me to invest 90% in travel, right from 80s, early 80s and those days. So once you have a travel experience of neighboring countries and international countries also, then you can make some comparisons, and then you see that where your efforts can be rewarded the most, and that consistency and passion can come. But obviously when you are hopping here and there, it creates a problem, because you know pastures are always greener on the other side of the hill, even right from our villages. So consistency and commitment brings in the passion.
Okay. What's your take on the investment policies that govern the way we operate in Uganda?
I feel they are good, but there is some weakness in terms of value addition. We are not emphasizing the value addition enough, we can say, especially if you want to do say agriculture, mass farming or mechanizations and improve on our agriculture output or industrial output. We have to emphasize on value addition, that if the value addition is above certain percentage, they should get some incentives, and if it is less than certain percentage, they should get some disincentive. But we are treating all the manufacturers on the same level. So somehow or another, we don't get the genuine, right, green manufacturers who can be sustainable, more useful to Uganda and more useful for the tax base also and exports. So basically the industry policy has to change reflecting this factor.
Wow. You can't come this far as an entrepreneur when you are not in the records of URA, Uganda Revenue Authority. I don't know how friendly you are and how close you are to them. Oh, I don't know how distant you are from them.
I agree that as far as Uganda Revenue Authority is concerned, we all like to maintain social distancing.
I thought that's a habit for people from downtown.
What you can say, social distancing doesn't mean you are too far and too close. So what it means is that, of course, the compliance is very good for Shumuk group of companies, and we have been substantially contributing in the national kitty for over 20 years. And of course, both parties have benefited from the process, and we maintain the dialogue as a method when we don't feel comfortable. So we go there and explain them that this is possible and this is not possible, and we reach amicable positions for over 2 decades or 3.
There's a general saying like people like you are enjoying a lot of tax holiday, and yet the Mwananchi is paying a lot of tax. How far true is that?
I don't think it is true as far as we are concerned, because neither we have got even one tax holiday one day, neither we have got one car which is based on what you can say duty free or something right from 1994, and we are still having that facing the wrong impression that we have got so many tax holidays. On the contrary, we are complaining that being original industrialists in the late 80s and early 90s, the government is ignoring us and going for the new industrial estates and new beautiful women's.
So you're also crying to government.
Yes. We are crying, we are saying you cannot discriminate between what you can say the old wife and the new wife. You have to balance the level playing field.
But are you satisfied with the way how URA handles matters to do with taxation?
A lot of challenges in terms of sensitization of what you can say the population at large of benefits of paying taxes. At the same time, there are a lot of challenges in terms of URA officials. Sometimes they are not trained in terms of seeing the long-term interest of the revenue basis. They are being trained for short-term and target-oriented. So there are limitations on both sides. Now, if you can bridge it, they can come together and do a good work for all of us, including growth of the company and the growth of URA.
Maybe you have the privilege to recommend to them a few of the areas and tell them if we do this and this, maybe would be better off than where we are.
You know, anyway, that is why I wanted to contest for Nakawa West, and I've already congratulated the winner. And yeah, I think still we'll keep on contributing whatever possible input we can in terms of ideas and proposals to both sides through our member of parliament and various leadership cycle, what you can say the structures, and see, because sometimes I always feel that when advice is given, when not solicited, generates no value. So unless there is a hunger or there is a need, it will be like water falling on the stone. So we try to restrict ourselves and give wherever it is solicited and remain professional.
Okay. Your government, which has just celebrated 35 years, initiated a policy called Buy Uganda, Build Uganda. I believe for you started it long time ago before it came into existence. What is your take on Buy Uganda, Build Uganda? Do you think it is a policy worth exploitation? that every Ugandan should embark on?
Yes, I definitely believe that Buy Uganda, Build Uganda can be linked with our self-pride as Ugandans. It can be linked with our patriotism. It can be linked with our ethics and integrity levels. And it is very important if we want to maintain our genuine economic freedom. We may be enjoying what you can say X number of years in independence, but real independence comes from self-pride and self-esteem, which we have to use this Babu policy to make it. And I feel that we should emphasize that more and more in the coming 5 years, not only in industrial sector of manufacturing, but also in agriculture value addition, which is our key, what you can say, competitive advantage as Uganda. I think we have a lot of agriculture produce where we can add value and export. So it is a basic fundamental policy, and I think we should all try to support it, not only support it, but to build projects on that policy basis. I don't know how far the ministry is taking interest in how they can execute it. Our major problem is we have execution problems, Our plans are very good on in the paper and we fail to execute for 10 years, 20 years sometimes. So apart from that fear, I don't have any other fear in the policy.
So government needs to look into this and that. As we plan to wind up, let's now discuss the most critical area where you have just concluded. That's the politics and the economics. How was it? Did you anyway campaign?
A lot of campaign, and I did my work, and I'm around fifth in the queue.
Was it a free and fair election?
Out of 14 candidates, and I enjoyed my experience, you can say, which is a inverted comma learning experience. I don't know about fair and fair. We are still trying to get some information, but definitely there is a cross, what you can say, age group voting trend which I saw in Kampala or Greater Kampala also, and NUP had swept all the seats within the region. So I'm feeling that maybe there is a youngsters competition with old age above 50 and versus below 50, and I think there is a trend that people with 35 have issues in terms of dissonance, discontentment, and they are not happy with their existing positions, whatever they are doing, So I hope our Honorable MP Joel Senyoni, I have congratulated him at Kalolo and wished him well. While we are 14 candidates, all 14 have a, what you can say, a common manifesto to develop Nakawa West. So I don't feel that we are really fighting with each other. We are fighting with development.
So has your vision stopped for Nakawa, or even when you didn't go through?
I don't think so, because my vision was to sensitize Joel to come and offer himself in the first place. So many interests I have created, and I'm sure I have set some standards where he will have to perform next 5 years. So I don't think we have lost, even if we have lost.
Ugandans have a habit that even after politics, we continue to politicize. We play politics more than the economics. I don't know what your take is. We do more politics than the economics.
That is why I'm requesting all Ugandans that please bring in more entrepreneurs, green entrepreneurs, businessmen and investors in politics, so that they change your mindset, because their interest will be fixed in terms of improving the business and improving the entrepreneurship environment, and automatically you will get development, you will get unemployment sorted out, and you will not have time to do politicking.
Anyone, one would then ask, is politics the way to go towards handling the problems of Uganda?
No, you cannot avoid politics because we are a mass of people. We have to have green leadership in politics. I don't think politics is a problem. The problem is when I make it personal interest versus community interest, and when I pursue only my personal interest, then politics becomes a problem.
Is that possible in Uganda? The values and the principles you've just talked about.
Why not? Because when we are sitting today,
But we don't see them.
in 1986 or 85, 84, we were not dreaming that we'll sit like this nicely. We had to check what noise is outside and run. So I'm saying that Rome was not built in a day, and we have to patiently handle different sections.
But maybe it doesn't mean that we should also take years and years to
I agree, but
build the Rome you're talking.
But at the same time, I don't agree that our personal grudges and competition should be handled through politics. Do you agree?
I do. 5 years of President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, 2021-2026. If you had an opportunity, which I think you have already had, what would you tell him to emphasize on?
If I have an opportunity, I will tell him to emphasize on industrialization and slow down a bit of Pan-Africanism because I still feel that regional blocks have to be strengthened first before we think of the whole continent, because our variations cannot be matched within a short period. It needs 50 years journey.
What of the other 10 candidates?
Sorry?
The 10 candidates,
10 candidates, I still feel that
presidential candidates.
I will like to congratulate all the 10 candidates, including my 13 candidates who didn't win with me. And I still feel that dialogue and discussion and debate cannot be replaced by any other form of what you can say governance. Let's agree that civilization runs through civility, civilians, and non-governance is not a solution to any problem.
You have the opportunity, MD, to finally greet the people of Nakawa, but entirely the people of Ugandans, whom you have fundamentally been of great importance to them.
No, I'm just congratulating all the Nakawa voters for voting, coming out and voting, because that is the basic responsibility, and I congratulate. Don't worry, we will still provide you the leadership irrespective of our physical positions. We don't fight for positions, we fight for an idea of development, and we'll continue struggling to maintain our contribution. And I once again like to congratulate that we really have to celebrate this independence well, and congratulate the Achi, the President of Uganda, and all the people who have made as a Member of Parliament, and all the people who didn't make it as 11 or 10 candidates of the for the highest posts, and even my colleague MPs who could not make like me. The world is not ending from tomorrow. We can always try again, but the best part is when we participated, we have won for a common objective of developing Uganda. Thank you, and best wishes for the new year.
Thank you, Managing Director, Mr. Mukesh. It's been a pleasure. Thank you for being part and parcel of this business information. The challenge now goes back to you and I to implement what we've been able to share. I like what Henry Togo says. He says there's nothing good just like an idea whose right time has come. I hope this very intriguing and interesting discussion will not leave you the same again. My name is Fred Makubya for God and my country, Uganda.